Hey guys, it's Wednesday night and it's prime time. I just finished putting the primer on this 8-foot Chevy truck box. This will be video 2A. There probably won't be a 2B, so we'll just do 2A because it is the second night of the project here. So you can kind of see the primer's actually still shiny yet. I think that tailgate turned out pretty good considering how ugly that was. Got everything primed. I did end up just buzzing both bedsides completely down with 320 and did minimal masking. Basically that sheet of paper right there, just to keep it off the bulkhead because I don't really have that completely scuffed yet. So I just touched up a couple spots that were chips. I don't know if you can see that in the film or not, but I got a little sag in that primer right there. I was trying to keep my pattern down. I should know better by now. I got a little sag in there, but this primer is very forgiving. I do have a little whoop-de-whoop going on there in that bodywork area. Kind of expected that. It felt pretty good before it was primed. Like I said, this surfacer is very forgiving. There's 4 coats on there, so it may completely block out, it may not. I am planning on actually sealing this whole project with gray sealer. It'll be the same gray. I may tint it a little bit darker. The color I found out today is not actually storm gray. It is going to be gray stone, 213M I believe, and it will be two-toned with a red, sport red I believe. The gentleman who owns this truck also owns an 07 Duramax, and that one is sport red top to bottom, and he likes that color, so we're going to two-tone it with sport red on the bottom and the gray stone on top, the GM two-tone way to do that. I'm not going to do the inside of the box. It is getting a plastic drop-in liner and plastic bushwhacker bed rail cap, so I'm not going to get real carried away, because if I remember right, those bed rail caps cover right up into this there's a little depression right there. They actually cover all the way down, but I still want to make it look right in case that plan changes for him. I want to make it look as good as possible, but we're not restoring the thing, it's just getting truck box put on it. Something I wanted to mention before I forget, thank you to Velvet Hammer, Sean, for a comment and the subscription. And also wanted to just mention, I know you're doing that Duramax, something to look for, and maybe you know this already, your truck has flares on it. I highly recommend, depending on how your double-side tape came off your flares, a lot of times if you just give these a good snap, the tape comes off really nice and stays on the flare. You do not have to remove that, and I would actually suggest that you don't, for the reason that tape is actually kind of thin, and there is an edge on the back side of those flares. And what happens is, you'll see both sides here, over time, that flare actually kind of eats into the paint and will break the paint. So what I always do, always, even on a brand new flare right out of the box, I will put another layer of double-side tape on the back side. It gives you just enough little extra room that when you push that flare on tight, you don't score the paint, and it also allows a little bit of room for expansion and contraction, that it's not going to be rubbing your paint. So just something to keep in mind there. It's well worth the extra of time to put a second layer of double-side tape on these flares. These GM trucks, that's a known problem. They usually start rusting in those areas. This one, fortunately, I don't think it's seen enough road time to have that happen, but I have seen them where they actually will rust a hole in those locations, and it's the point, the corner that'll go here when it tucks into that body line, and then these outside corners. Pretty much everyone, you can bank on it. This side I really got an ugly runner in it, and it was partially because I bumped it and I was trying to bury it and just being stupid and in a hurry, and I brushed it out with an acid brush. It'll be fine. It'll block. If not, I'll reprime, and like I said, I am going to be sealing this anyways. Bodywork turned out pretty good though. It'll be okay. Like I said, this isn't, is not a restoration, but of course, this is a friend, so I want to make it look as good as I possibly can without spending a fortune on it. This is kind of a time and material job. There's a couple small dings there, and one that I couldn't really get to visually see, but I knew it was there, so I primed over it anyways. So yeah, here you'll see again, same spots from that flare. I wouldn't have necessarily had to prime those areas because I am going to be sealing this to be closer to the color, so I can use less material. But it's always nice to put primer on over stuff just in case it is going to ring. You get a chance to correct it before you go to the final paint. I usually don't like sealing just because of my environment here. It's one less. Usually I like to go over sanded material just because it usually leads to a better finished product. But I'm going to scuff and buff anyways. I scuff and buff everything pretty much, unless it's a real budget job, and it's something that's just going to be a flipper or something like that for other people. So that's where I'm at tonight, and this was all done it's a little after 9 again, and I started on this at about 6:30. Had my body work done, but just had to go through everything. So I'd say I'd shut her down here at about 9 o'clock, so I got 2.5 hours in getting this thing prepped and primed tonight. So really don't have a lot of time in this thing. I'm hoping to actually shoot this thing Friday night. It's going to depend on how this upper rail turns out. If I have to reprime, I will back it out, and I'll do it at a different time next week, early next week sometime. So yeah, I'll give you a shot here of the products that I do use or did put on this. I've been using this Acme Finish 1. It's something that I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's a Martin Senior product because it's sold with these type of products in the store at my Napa store. It's a really good primer, very high build. This is direct to metal surfacer. Do not need an etch primer underneath it. Do not need an epoxy primer underneath it. Unless you have massive rust issues, then I would recommend an epoxy first, then the surfacer. This is my primer gun that I've been using. Just budget gun, guys. ATD, Leonardo. Really dumps material on. I'm still messing with this fluid on this thing because obviously I'm putting way too much material on. And Velvet Hammer made a comment to my last video that can't wait to see how the pros do it. Well, I don't feel very professional tonight because of the runs, but hey, you know what? It happens. This is a newer gun that I'm kind of dialing in for primer. I like it because of its material delivery, and I don't know if I'm just over anxious or what it may be, but thankfully none of these little sags in the primer that I've gotten with this gun have been an issue. They block out really nice. One nice thing about the way I do things here is this will sit now until tomorrow night, after 6 o'clock. So there's always plenty of cure time. I'm not pushing this stuff to try and get this thing painted in the next 3-4 hours. So it always dries out nice, and it's always powders very nice, sands very nice. So for that, and it's inexpensive, very inexpensive, and I feel a quality product for the economical repair. Yes, you can spend $500 on a kit for primer. Not necessary. Not even for some of these show cars. It's just not necessary. Use what you're comfortable with. Use what you can afford. If you can afford the top of the shelf stuff, go for it. I cannot. I will not. I don't see a reason for it at this point. Maybe someday when I hit it big and I can use gold-plated guns and all that good stuff. Not gonna happen. But that's the products I'm using. This is what I got done tonight. So actually, out of all the body work, The tailgate actually turned out the best. And that was, I would say, just as ugly as the one on the top of the bed rail. And like I said on the last video, guys, I had 3 hours in this body work and actual prep and filler work. So I'm not expecting a miracle here. And I'm not trying to get away and say, oh, this stuff is easy. It's not always. Some of these things that look like the simplest little door ding, and they will kick your ass to the very end. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I just wanted to make sure I passed along that little note there to Sean, that check your flares before you nail those things down, because it'd be a real shame to see that beautiful paint job get scored and start to be an issue right off the bat, especially with those sides no longer being a factory side. You may have a contour issue. Do a triple layer of tape if you have to. The tape is always going to be better or cheaper than respraying a side or doing a rust repair later because of the damage it caused. Again, I'm not real concerned about the bed rails, because they are going to get covered with bed rail caps, the plastic ones, which is great because these things, it's a truck. Bed rails are, beat up. If this was a 6.5 foot box, typically the bed rails are better on those, just because usually an 8-foot box is a work truck. You see very, very few 8-foot box trucks used as your family hauler type trucks nowadays, because everybody wants a crew cab. When you get a crew cab in a long box, good grief. Park that at the mall. Good luck. So, alright guys, again, this is Wednesday night will be video 2A. I will continue. I'll just use the same method of labeling just to keep it simple. Yeah, video 2A prime time. Tomorrow night will be prep. Hopefully Friday night will be paint. We'll see. And the other thing too was that I did mention I'm going to be two-toning this. I am going to be doing all the two-tone on the whole truck at the same time. So I am only spraying the gray on this on, well, Friday or Monday, whenever it's going to be. So we'll have another video later in the series to do the two-tone. So thanks again, guys. Hope you're having a great evening. Talk to you again tomorrow night. Hope all is well. Oh, and one other thing. Guess what it did today? It snowed. Shocker. All right. Later, guys. Thanks.